So I want to know how to go about interpreting the Bible, but there's some things that are difficult to understand, especially things like apocalyptic literature, like Revelation, those end times prophetic type books. How do I go about understanding it? We're going to talk about that in this video. This video is a part of a larger series of videos called Virtual Coach. If you go to our YouTube channel, Bethel Pittsburgh, go under playlist, you'll find a playlist titled Virtual Coach, and in there we walk through the practical approaches to growing in our faith. And you'll notice the titles of the video will say Virtual Coach and then a category. All the videos are arranged in category order, and this is Bible study interpreting the genre of apocalyptic literature. So we're just going to walk through either all of Revelation 14 or some of it, just mostly with reflections to see how we're going to go about interpreting this. So verse 1, then I looked, and behold, on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. Now, right there, we are relying on, at least to this point, there's nothing that is telling us who the Lamb is. Likely, the book of Revelation does, and so what you're going to need to do is use a concordance like Bible Gateway that we're currently in right now. Lamb. And what you'll do is it'll tell you everywhere that Lamb is listed, and you're going to be looking for, you would start in Revelation. You could do a glance through and look at whether or not the book of the life and of the Lamb, the blood of the Lamb opened the seal, Lamb in the midst of the throne, the blood of the Lamb made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne and to the Lamb, God throne and before the Lamb, and from the wrath of the Lamb. Now I watched when the Lamb opened the seven seals, and to the Lamb be blessing and honor and glory and might forever and ever. Now, first of all, with there, you're seeing worship going towards the Lamb, which then says this has to be some kind of at least expression of God. Worthy is the Lamb. Again, once again, worship is moving in the direction of the Lamb. Elders bowed down before the Lamb. I saw a lamb standing, that's just in the heading, like that of a lamb, but with the precious blood of Christ like that of a lamb. Now, right there, now you would have to, for the sake of time, I'm not doing this, but you could look into that. Oh, that's in actually 1 Peter, which is what I was going to refer to anyway, is you would note that throughout the Bible, Jesus is referenced and alluded to as a lamb, and his blood is referenced as that which saves us and all those kind of things, all pointing to the fact that this is Jesus is being referred to. On Mount Zion stood Jesus. You can interpret that now. And with him the 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name, Jesus and the Father, written on their foreheads. Now, another aspect that we want to keep considering when we're going through Revelation, one, we're having to pull from our knowledge of other places in Scripture to interpret what's taking place rather than just guessing. And that's something I see people do with Revelation all the time. They just guess rather than actually pull in the context of the Bible to provide that information. But also, Revelation, other places of the Bible do this, but Revelation in particular will use a lot of figurative language, hence the use of the word lamb. Jesus isn't literally a lamb, but we call him the Lamb. And so it is possible, it's not a definite, but it is possible that other terms and other ideas are figurative. Is he literally standing on Mount Zion? Is there literally only 144,000? And is there literally something that is written on their foreheads? These are things that we want to consider because figurative is an option. It's not that we want to make everything figurative, but if figurative is an option, We want to ask, is the Bible speaking figuratively? Verse 2, and I heard a voice from heaven like the roar of many waters and like the sound of loud thunder. The use of the word like here is clearly indicating that it is not exactly these things. We're using a type of language, this type of descriptive language, a pictorial, illustrative type language to capture what's taking place. The voice I heard was like the sound of harpists playing on their harps. Verse 3 here, and they were singing a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and before the elders. Once again, four living creatures, literally, figurative. The elders, literally, figurative. And I think some of the challenges that literal and figurative is likely woven in together. And so we keep reading on. We can move out and check this throughout other places. Just like we search lamb, you can search these other terms as well. Although the more you go outside of the book you're particularly in, you might lose how that book's using it, because the different books might use it different ways. Or you keep reading to see if there's any more clues. Often there are. And they were singing a new song before the Lord, or before the throne, and before the four living creatures, and before the elders. No one could learn that song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. Now we get some identification to the 144,000. These are people that have been redeemed from earth. Verse 4, it is these who have not defiled themselves with women, for they are virgins. It is these who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These have been redeemed from mankind as first fruits for God and the Lamb. And in their mouth no lie was found, and they are blameless. Now, they are virgins here. Is that figurative? If it's literal, then, and if the 144,000 is literal, then only people who are virgins will fit into this category of who the 144,000 are. Unless there's some figurative aspect to this, not defile themselves with women, we do see in Revelation an analogy of the woman prostitute that is actually illustrating participation in forms of idolatry within the nations. And so that's something to consider, as this might not be literal. Now, of course, sexual immorality is different, but marital sex is not sexual immorality, and these people are virgins if this is literal. So we hold these things in mind and we keep moving forward. Revelation, you can't just read and interpret. You have to actually do researching to do it. Verse 6, then I saw another angel. Now it says another, which means there was an angel before, which we don't see in this paragraph, must be in the preceding chapters, flying directly overhead with an eternal gospel to proclaim to those who dwell on earth, to every nation and tribe and language and people. Verse 7, and he said, who's he now? We will always want to follow that. He is the angel speaking. And he said with a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea and the springs of water. We do want to note identifying God as the judge, one who gets worshipped, the one who made heaven and earth, in case he assigns those things to other people later, which is what often happens. Verse 8, another angel, a second, followed, saying, fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great, she who made all nations drink the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality. Once again, we get the woman from Babylon, which might mean that this whole virgin thing is not a literal thing. It's a connection to this immoral behavior and idolatry. Also note, referring to the fall of Babylon, Revelation was written late in the 1st century. Babylon had already fallen at that point. And so Babylon is not literal. It's referring to some other group of people or nation. And this is something to keep in mind. Then verse 9, let me see where we are. I think we'll try to quickly go through the whole chapter. Verse 9, And another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he will also drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Now, once again, we want to ask, is something being illustrated, or is this literal, like a particular mark? Up above, there was a mark that is given to the followers, the 144,000, and here there's a mark given to those who worship the beast. Is there a little mark on the hand and forehead, or is this illustrating something? We have to leave room for the possibility because of where we are. We're in Revelation, and Revelation uses analogies and illustrations. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, these worshippers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them. I think we'll stop just short here, but one, I know that there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that's the point. My plan wasn't to answer all the questions. My plan was to show you that apocalyptic literature can't just be read and interpreted. You have to actually research these terms within the context, read the whole book, gather the information, piece the puzzle pieces together, and then draw an interpretation and application. Don't just read it. Some of these we were able to clarify with who the Lamb is, but others are a little more tricky. So when you read apocalyptic literature, Revelation, Ezekiel and Daniel include some of this apocalyptic literature, then keep these things in mind, and you won't draw poor conclusions. If you have any questions on that, then leave that in the comments below. I'd be glad to answer them. Or if you would like to grow in your faith in person and you live in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, we would love for you to join us. We're Bethel Assembly of God at 2501 Staten Street. We meet Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. Or if you can't join us in person, you can join us via live streaming. We stream our Sunday services live on our YouTube channel, Bethel Pittsburgh, at 10 a.m. We hope to see you at either place, but may God richly bless you.